health and energy mastery.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah,
talk about that.
let's just explore it. What?
Well, most people don't realize that everything's really energy, and what we're putting out constantly is energy and a vibration. And I always use the example of, do you feel when a cold's coming on? And most people can identify with, yeah, when you start feeling run down and not so, you're like, I'm more fatigued. I feel like I might be getting sick.
Yeah,
It's already out in your field.
yeah,
And energy is a weird thing to explain. It can be tricky because it's not a tangible thing. It's not like we can grab onto it and say, okay, here it is, look at it. There are people that are gifted enough to see that, and there are people that don't. But when you feel that, when we talk about energy, we feel that there's things coming, your cold's coming down. So if we don't circumvent that at that point in time, it's going to work its way in, and whatever is in has to work its way out somehow. So I call it congestion, congested stuff when you're just feeling like life is too much. And this is often how people get sick to greater level, lesser degrees. Are you just going to get a cold, or are you going to get something more because you're constantly feeling the fatigue and the heaviness of the world on your shoulders? And that's something that I'm, gifted to see in people. I see what needs to change, but it's getting the person there is always the tricky piece, because we as humans get resistant.
yep. Defensive, and so my first question is, where's the line and the difference between someone feeling like they're getting sick, but it's kind of a mental, like that heaviness that you're talking about, but it is more of a mental thing, and then you're feeling the sickness even though you're potentially physically not sick. Like, where's the line between your like powerful negative vibes kind of then turning into a negative energy in your system from your thoughts, let's say, and that turning into sickness, versus you detecting feelings in an awareness in your body, and then you actually know something real is coming? Does that make any sense?
It does. It's a very gray zone, because I think what we're talking about here is awareness, and most people just don't realize that there's an awareness factor of catching yourself. Like, okay, I've been thinking these things or doing these things. The key, I think, to everything, and really remedying a lot of things, is just the awareness of catching those thoughts, slowing down.
Right.
And when do you really have it? If you already have it, it's worked its way into your system.
Yeah.
So then you have to work on reversing it, because it's already worked its way in. So when that cold's already in there and you're already sniffling, it's
Yeah.
worked its way in, versus the fine line of, I'm starting to feel fatigued. I don't know if that maybe answers your question a little more, like that heaviness of, I don't have a sore throat yet. I don't have the sniffles yet. I don't have a cough yet. But I know that if I don't do something now, it's going to happen. And it usually happens a lot quicker than we think.
Right.
But there is a way to catch it, and it's taking your zinc at that point in time.
Yeah.
That's the time to catch it and take your D. You should always be taking that. But if you continue pushing yourself or continue with those thoughts, then yes, it's going to manifest into the system pretty quick.
So if we take like negative self-talk, for example, if this is like a habit and a pattern for you every single day, potentially every week at least, I mean, like you say, some of us might not even notice how much negative self-talk there is, which I think
Mm-hmm.
in a lot of cases. So how much do you feel? What do you feel the impact is of, let's say, daily and weekly negative thought? What kind of physical effects could this turn into, kind of chronic effects?
You'll see it as when we think of negative thoughts, there's all sorts of kinds. There's, your anger, frustration, just plain depression. So it's going to manifest a lot. I think I see it in the shoulders, like a lot of joint pain, a lot of shoulder pain, chronic headaches. That means there's a lot of congestion, in the ajna and certain chakras. But most people start to feel pain and fatigue are very common. And
Right.
so it's the catching yourself of, it's the awareness of what are you thinking about all day long? What is your predominant thought? Is it, people often have a predominant wavelength of thought, like they're constantly worrying about their mother-in-law or their job or their family or their kids, and they have expectations of something happening. So we want to catch those thoughts. We really want to see where we are spending the majority of our thought patterns. And so that's what I tell people. Every hour, see, what are you thinking? What are you thinking right now? And catch the pattern of whatever thought that you are persistently worrying about. Is it money? Is it your job? Is it your family?
Absolutely, yeah. I think that catching is essential. It's certainly, changed a lot for me over the last few years. I'm getting way better at catching those negative thoughts and the roller coaster of emotions that come up without judging them either. But I never used to be able to. Like years ago, I just kind of covered everything up, feeling everything was okay, and deep below the surface were these things, things that bothered me, right? So it's interesting now to let those come up to the surface and kind of work out how to process through them. But for anyone that feels like they can catch these negative things and see what they are, like what would be the next step to start to work out how to process through or let go, you know?
Yeah, yeah. And just like you said, a lot of us, oh, it's okay. I'm good. Everything's good. I'm good. When there's stuff underneath that's not good. So we have to catch that. And when we do catch it, then the goal is to pivot, because we actually all have the ability to control our minds. I know that's tricky to say, but when you catch that thought, what I love to do, one of my biggest tricks, is to find gratitude in something. Just turn your eyes to, hey, there's really beautiful sunshine outside, and focus on that. Or what is really good in my life? Just pick another thought. It's like a conveyor belt. It's like, okay, I don't want that thought. I think I'm going to pick this thought. You can create another thought. Within 17 seconds of focusing on another thought, whatever that is, and there's always something good in your life. Always. I mean, you had a really great cup of coffee. I don't know, you love your car, something. Focus on that for 17 seconds and you will start to create a new thought pattern and a new wavelength of plenty of those good thoughts to follow. So it's a matter of catching the thought, pivoting, spending about 17 seconds on a different thought of gratitude. Gratitude is the highest emotion, will create the highest vibe, and you'll see that more of those types of thoughts start to appear and you'll shift. That's the trick.
That's super powerful. And would you say, like a lot of us take in things like the media and a lot of social media time, a lot of watching the news. I know. I'm with you. I just highlight it together because to me, the news is incredibly filtered to be incredibly negative. It's a system to me. It's a system for eyeballs and a system for driving money. Now, I'm not saying we should never look at the news, but it's not an accurate representation of the world. I mean, everything, someone said it recently in a TED talk, of everything out there is happening, the good, the bad, the ugly, like everything's happening, but we get to choose what filter of information that we take in.
Correct. And unless you are really good and we all can get to that point, but most people I find are not there. So they turn on the news, and whenever you turn on the news, guys, and Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, whatever else social media platform you guys use, you're diving into somebody else's energy already. And you can feel the angst, you can feel the frustration of whatever it is that you're reading, or it's a really high vibe. Somebody posts something really nice. And what does that make you feel? Really light and fluffy and good.
Yeah.
You're diving into somebody else's energy regardless. I never recommend waking up in the morning. There's so many people that I know wake up in the morning. The first thing they do is turn on the radio or turn on the TV, and they're on Facebook. You are diving into somebody else's energy already. Yeah. Don't do that. Wake up in the morning, I say 5 minutes. 5 minutes, just sit in a chair, breathe, find something you're grateful for, look outside, see the sunshine. If you don't have sunshine, look at something. So you can create a different pattern, because a lot of us are we get dragged down the rabbit hole, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So easy to do.
I was thinking the other day of it's kind of funny. It's like scrolling through social media, Instagram, and then I suddenly had this thought about. I realize what my expression is right now, and it looks like kind of a zombie, like zoned out. I'm scrolling through, and I don't like doing that too much. But I thought, wait a minute, I look like I feel really weird. I feel really heavy. Like you say, you're kind of taking in a weird filtered world. Now, I'm not here to rip apart social media. There's
Right.
good parts of it too, but it feels like just the system, and knowing it's a system, we can use it in certain ways to help us, but as long as it doesn't
It's
drive us externally, right?
right. And there's ways to, clean that up of looking at things. I do a cord cutting technique after I'm done. I try to feed my brain. I tell people you're feed yourself food, but whatever you're feeding your brain is also
Yeah.
going to affect what's going on in your body. So I don't feed my brain. I try not to feed my brain a bunch of social media stuff that's negative or TV. I try to read positive things or get on or make sure I'm linked to positive sites so I can feed myself some positive affirmations to start my day. So I think that's really important too. And social media's there to it's an advantage and it helps us promote and do positive things, but it can have a negative effect as well. So balance of it is important.
So why don't we talk about a little bit about the energy piece and dig into,
Yeah.
are there any particular areas? Like I I've had some weird experiences where, again, the last few years, like the way things have shifted for me, since my marriage. Now I'm a lot more kind of open and freedom when I go into places, even in the coffee shop. Like I'm way more social, right? And before I would have been hiding away, trying to be a follower, trying to hide, trying to avoid conversations too much, make sure they weren't long enough, right? Just try and cut them off as quick as I can. But now I'm like, I want to interact with everyone, and even with a mask, it's fine. Like I love eye contact, I love socializing, but yeah, maybe we could dig into the energy of how we can connect better.
Okay. Yeah, totally. So I also say we're like sharks. You've been around the people that you're like, I don't want to be in this room. I don't want to see that friend because, when you talk to this friend, they just dump on you the whole time or tell you everything negative. Or yes, I want to be around this friend because they're always so bubbly and so happy.
Yeah.
Energy's constantly moving and we are always interacting with each other and each other's energies. And that's a tricky piece for people. And there's the whole concept of consciousness. We are all one. And I'm working on, grasping that, but we are. And that's a very tricky thing to explain to people as well. But the very simple way is to explain it is, the people you want to be around, you're okay being around. And then there's those people you don't want to be around. That's an energetic exchange. And that's the best way, I think, to describe it. And so also when we look at our own energy and things that are going on between us, like you say, when you freed yourself, you've unloaded some baggage. And so when you unload that and you unload the congestion, the energetic congestion of whatever's going on in your life, things free up and you expand.
Yeah.
So you find that you want to do more and be friendlier. And this is what happens in people's worlds. And that can be shifted for anybody in whatever situation you're in, it can be shifted.
So an interesting thing on that with expansion, I was then thinking that suddenly, like, when you start to expand and step into courage in whatever form, let's say you're an entrepreneur and you start something new, or you start to socialize more and you start to expand, then I always feel like there's always a pullback after a certain time. Of you're out of your comfort zone for a few weeks, and then suddenly it questions you, and your whole, your self sabotage and questioning, you know, your growth, just questioning your own growth. Do you have any thoughts around that?
Yeah, that's your ego because the soul always wants to expand. So there's this always, people have heard the ego, and we don't mean the ego as I'm egotistical and I'm, nasty. We have this part of the mind that we come with this body and a kind of like a computer with a program called the ego. The soul always wants to do more. The soul has no limits. Nature has no limits. There really are no limits, but our ego likes to pull us back and say, no, 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 no. You stay where it's safe. Don't go out there. Don't go do that project. And this is where we start self-sabotaging and finding a need to be right and finding that we can't do this. There are no limits. Just you think about that. There's no limits in nature. And if you really start to think about that, you'll find that everything that's been created in the world, it had no limits. Somebody thought of it and it came into existence. And so the only place where we stop is we stop ourselves. Our brain starts to pull us back and keep us into safety, and then we don't move forward. And this is what I dealt with my competition. I found every reason why I might not be able to do this. How am I going to do this with work? How am I going to get my meals in? Financially, how am I going to pay a coach? How am I going to, I mean, we're in COVID. Business is slow. But inside, I'm like, I have to do this. I have to do this. And I just went. And when you go, things just start to line up. They just do. Stuff starts happening. The money comes. It's like a horse with blinders. Just put the blinders on and just go. Or like the Nike commercial, just do it. Yeah. Because otherwise you will talk yourself out of it as quick as you were thinking about it. And then you get nowhere in life. So just go. Just go what's in your gut and follow it and light it up and move forward.
Yeah, I agree so much. Do you have any other tips around that of if people are really struggling maybe with negative self-talk or anxiety or something, and they can do some things, they can just say like, just do it for this, but then when it comes to something a bit bigger, they're not able to, and it's too much pullback. Do you have any other tips?
Take a baby step, because the other thing that happens is when something's really big, like say you want to make $1 million, it's like, how am I going to make $1 million? Forget it. I'm not going to make $1 million. Okay, let's just break that down and let's just start with 10,000 a month. That's doable. And the brain goes, oh, okay, that's doable. And this is how you move the needle just a little bit. Just take a little step forward. You'll be led then to the next step forward and then the next step forward. And before you know it, you'll get to that really big piece. I think that's one of the biggest things is if it feels too big, chunk it. Take a little chunk and move forward, because it is impossible for you not to get there if you put the consistent action in and move forward. It's impossible. You will get there. You absolutely will get there. So I don't know if that answers your question.
Absolutely does. Yeah. Like actually everything I build as well is very much around tiny steps and consistency, and believing exactly what you just said, that we can do anything. Like recently I started learning to play the guitar, and it's been taking me so long, but the moment I started practicing every day for just 5 to 10 minutes, just a few chords, then things start to come. And then I got onto thinking, well, I remember being told that I can't sing at all. Like, well, not being told, but I had this belief the whole time that I can't sing. And then I started messing around with the guitar, trying to sing, and I haven't got a clue how it sounds, but I don't
I used to play guitar. I sold it.
But it's connected to me that I feel like I truly believe we can learn anything. And
you can.
Take all fears and all ego out, then it's just down to those tiny steps consistently for as long as it takes to get the skill.
I think what I'm hearing to say to everybody is just start.
Right.
Because you'll sit there, and I just did a little video on overthinking, and you will find your brain, I don't know if I can do this, I don't think I can do it, forget it. You will find every tiny little excuse. It's like swimming lessons. If anybody's out there is taking swimming lessons, and you have to jump in the pool. I mean, you can't sit on the edge. And at one point, the teacher's like, "Okay, everybody come in the pool now. You got to jump in." And I remember those days, and it's like there's no other way. There's nothing in between. You just got to just start. Just start. Take a tiny little step. Make one phone call. Take one step forward. If you're trying to lose weight, maybe you take a 5-minute walk. Then a 10-minute, just start. And when you just start, the ball will start rolling. It just automatically starts rolling. I don't know how better to explain that. So just take one step towards whatever goal it is that you have.
Yeah, I think that's huge. And the other thing I love about the just start and tiny steps is that, let's say you get on a bit of a roll and then you fall off the wagon one day, but to get back on is so easy when you're thinking of that tiny steps and just start, because if you screw up one day, or you're really off one day and you need to recover, then you've got such a small, tiny step to get back on the wagon.
Exactly. And don't beat yourself up. I think there's a whole other conversation that we can have around belief patterns. There's a whole other conversation that we can have around self-love. And that's something I'm working on now too. And we all need to work on. There's a great book by Anita Morjani called Dying to Be Me. It's from a near-death experience, but chapter 15 onward is where the juicy parts are. And really, when I listened to that, and there's nobody judging you but you. And it's like, it's you against you, really. And if we can just learn to love ourselves and just be, everything changes. And knowing that you're so magnificent inside, there's nobody in the world like you. There's no replica of you. It's you, So if we can start learning to love ourselves and not beat ourselves up. All right, so you fell off the wagon a little bit. Laugh at yourself. Oh, crap, I did this. Okay, let's get back on tomorrow. We're gonna get back on the wagon. If we can just learn to love ourselves and not feel like you failed, don't beat yourself up and you just start again. Failures really, there's no such thing as failure. It's just an experience. So we need to
I love that.
reperceive how we're looking at a situation, restructure our belief patterns and our perception. It's all about perception of a situation. Absolutely. You never fail.
Absolutely. So that's amazing. I love that so much. And I have one other question that's rattling around my brain here is when we start to get into that mode. So I think a lot of people with the overwhelm kicks in, or some negative thought kicks in, or some self-sabotage. Now, when you get that feeling, when it starts to spiral into something bigger and you're trying to stop it, but it keeps spiraling and getting deeper like a hamster wheel of negativity, how can you stop that wheel spinning, or the many wheels spinning?
Oh, well, I do a grounding technique to get myself back in the body, because that's your brain going crazy, and it happens, guys. Don't beat yourself up about it. You have to recognize that, okay, this is my brain, this is my ego doing crazy things. Slow down. It's okay. I like to I do a 6-3 breathing technique, tapping your heart with your left hand. Just a few gentle taps brings you back to the heart center. Just really slow breathing to bring yourself back, because it's just your brain spiraling in a different direction. So I usually do some grounding techniques. I tap my heart with my heart with my left hand, just gentle, a couple taps. Do some 6-3 breathing, where you breathe in for the count of 6, hold it at the top for 3, and breathe out. Doing just 3 of those, like, okay, this is my brain. Recognize it's your brain doing funky things. It's not you. It's not the magnificent you that you are. This is just your crazy brain doing something crazy. So just let that go and bring yourself back to front and center, and it will pass. It always does. So don't let yourself get into overwhelm. But it happens to the best of us. So never beat yourself up about that.
So cool. Thank you so much. Was there any other things you want to share before we go? And then I want to know if people can reach out to you as well, and maybe you can share.
I'm here to serve, for sharing my experiences, and if they're helpful for anybody, I'm here to just help. And so, honestly, I think just to make a decision. If you're making decisions, just go and do what's in your heart. Follow what's in your heart, because that's what's going to lead you to your best and highest. And we often go along very routine patterns. And when we're in a routine and working 9 to 5, and we just don't, we don't follow what's in our heart. Follow what's in your soul. Yeah. Go towards that. Take the little step towards that. Yeah.
So much. Yeah, we've been talking so much about soul and heart recently, and I just love it. And what I notice is the more you really focus on that, the more it expands, right? And the thoughts almost get less power when you focus more on that.
Yep, it's all about that. It is all about what you focus on expands. And so really monitor those thoughts. You can control them. It takes a little practice. It's like a muscle. You got to build the brain muscle. But when you start doing it daily, getting a consistent routine of like morning and evening, having some affirmations and things that you can do, setting a different routine. That's what I do every morning. I do a gratitude list every single morning. There's some mornings I slip because I got to go to the office really early, but majority of the time I have a consistent pattern of things that I do. And that changes everything. You do get to a point where things shift and they pivot over into the other side of goodness. I can tell you that for sure.
Amazing.
So
Thank you so much.
thank you for having me. This
Oh,
was
it's so
fun.
amazing. Yeah, there's incredible wisdom. Would you mind sharing your, if people can reach out to you, or where can they get?
Yeah. Probably the easiest way is you can email me at drkdrk@ihmohio.com. If you want to go on the website, you can look there too. It's www.ihmohio.com. There's plenty of information on there and techniques that I use to clean people up, because I do use techniques to clean. There actually is a way to clean out thoughts.
Yeah.
It's a pranic healing technique that works magic, absolute magic. And I can do it virtually, so that's even better. But that changed my life. When I learned this technique, it absolutely changed my life. It relieves pain, it clears out thoughts, it does amazing things. So
Wow.
I'm happy to help wherever somebody needs something. I'm just here to be of service, as we all are in this world, to be a soul of service. So
Oh, you're amazing. Thank you so much.
and so are you. Oh my gosh.
Oh, we did it.
We did it.
We did it.